Thank you for coming. I will try to explain you and try to make it quick, kind of a bit of a shaky journey I had in my life and then in my career. Starting from, let's say, deep science and ending up in doing venture capital. So apparently no continuity, but I will try to explain to convince you that it was absolutely cohesive process, and I never broke a line. Why I believe that translational education, which is a big word to say, something not completely orthodox, is important for a contemporary career path. Because one of the data, this is a relatively recent data from World Economic Forum, just showing that 50% of all employees will need reskilling by 2025. 50% is a big number. 40% of current working core skills are expected to change in the next 5 years. And we add another big tile. Almost 50% of the current workforce will be a machine in 3 years, okay? So clearly, more or less in 2025, 100 million of people will be affected by a shift in the division of labor between humans, machines, and algorithms. And what once was important, like in demand, data entry clerks, accountant and auditor, client information, general and operation manager will be obsolete. We will start to get big data specialists, data analysts, AI or machine learning specialists, so on, so forth. Because those are technologies will be more needed in the new jobs and in the new way of doing business or research, whatever. So if you are making a poll across a relatively large number of corporations, what we will learn that people, managers, will try to get more people with cloud computing skills. 29% will be looking for encryption and cybersecurity experts or distributed ledger technology, whatever you may use it. And clearly, those professions or skills 5 years ago weren't existing. So we need to react to, again, a social differentiating system which is taking place these days. And if you're always looking to the same bunch of corporations, 55% of people will modify in 5 years, 3 years now, the composition of their value chain. So they are reshuffling people and working on a different ways of doing business they usually are doing, and they will try to rechange the value chain by means of the equilibrium between machines, human, and algorithms. And even if 43% of people that are saying they will reduce the current workforce to technology integration and automation, 32% of those people will expand the current workforce. So there is no a bad end or a bad story that people will get laid off and we will be dominated by robots. That's bullshit, sorry. What we will need is a new intelligent workforce doing something different. And we need to anticipate these trends. And if you are looking at what was the typical or traditional source job family with respect of what is being expected of classes of job of tomorrow, where tomorrow, I'm sorry, is today, you can easily appreciate that normally there are professions, for example, like engineering, which normally they may confluence in the cloud computing, engineering themselves, but also data and AI, product development, and so on and so forth. So other examples are human resources. Of course, they will continue to do their job. But if you analyze this kind of plot and look into the flow and the direction in which the typical profession will go, you will understand that doing research will serve everything. Doing media communication starts to affect cloud computing. So it means that some newer emerging professions will present more opportunity and not necessarily in an homogeneous way we were actually used to. Many transitions will not require a full skill match. So to do properly data and AI, I will need IT, I will need engineering, I will do research, I will do in quality assurance, support, education, administrative. That's it. We are not anymore in a silos economy, in a skill silos economy, but there will be a growing contamination of disciplines, which, by the way, enriches the set of competences and open possibilities for new workforce to be formed and participate to this phenomenon, okay? And I guess there is a responsibility for people like us. We are working in this and we are feeling what is happening these times to suggest education, to work properly, to anticipate tidal movements, and to suggest to especially students what is maybe worth to investigate if they're fit with their need or their likes. And another thing which is important, one thing which is also emerging these days is that it's not anymore necessary to get the best engineer ever. I need somebody which has critical thinking. Maybe he's a philosopher. I don't care. If I need critical thinking, I need the best critical thinker I can catch. So a lot of soft skills will be needed in the new landscape of jobs of today. Problem solving, self-management, especially after pandemic, okay? So, and those things are somehow independent to what the disciplines or what you studied at university. And look at the 10 top skills of 2025, okay? Only 2, the dark blues, are really technology related. The rest is creativity, critical thinking, complex problem solving, active learning, resilience. That's amazing. We are saying that in order to do proper our job, you need cross-functional skills. And we need to be trained. And at university, nobody trains about soft skills. There's probably the real life of what we are doing during our day-by-day job, in our family, whatever. But we need somehow to suggest new ways to be active and somehow working with the wave, surfing the wave, which is actually happening. And clearly, we need to understand that we are not alone, and what we know is a very limited amount of what is possible. Just a quick glance of why I'm talking to all of this. I got a degree in physics. I got a PhD at ETH in Zurich. And I started my career as a scientist at CERN in Geneva. I worked in Switzerland for almost 11 years. And then I moved in the private sector. So somehow shifting from research to somehow managing research. And then I got more of a managerial position in Olivetti. And then I make a jump in the public sector, being the deputy chairman of the largest public research institute in Italy, devoted to tech transfer. And I was chairman and CEO and deputy chairman and CEO of 2 incubators. One is called Innovation Factory, which is a public one bound to this research institute. That's the similarities we have. And this is a full private. So it was a pure, let's say, science park or a business park, but somehow with attention of SMEs and so on. Last but not least, my jump in venture capital. So somehow I will try to explain why it was interesting for me to do this fine. I keep working on a university with some task on following some courses. I'm teaching new product development at Trieste, and I'm teaching at the School of Management, which is not listed here, Finance for Innovation. Okay, how it happened? It happened somehow of course, in a serial way. And in my slides, the yellow line somehow shows you how linear or troubled the journey was for whatever experiment. I started in Geneva. In Trieste, I took my diploma working mostly at CERN. And I'm an elementary particle physicist, so high energy particle physics, and I was working in an experiment like this, trying to understand the deep roots of elementary physics, so standard model and whatever was the roots of the universe, let's say. And just playing shocking electrons and positrons together and understanding the results of the explosion, which has been measured by lots of silicon detectors here. We're just measuring the ionization of those charged particles across silicon. And definitely was the best for starting an academic career. I was working in probably one of the most important experiments in a fantastic time frame, because this experiment was just starting in 1990 when I got my diploma. And it was an incredible, enthusiastic time. And I was profiting this largely because I had a fantastic, working in a fantastic group. I was taught by a Nobel Prize. You know, those things are just simply dreaming during the school. Intellectually extremely challenging because, I mean, if you are seeking for the excellence is tough. And hard, even harsh competition, and many, many colleagues, fantastic. Those were somehow kind of soft issues I encountered. Of course, curiosity was basic for everything in my career, but I was curious, so I was eager to learn, eager to understand. Ambition, pride, freedom, enthusiasm, frustration, of course, and kind of, but I understood later, I was disconnected from reality because I was just doing elementary particle studies. And so the take-home message is curiosity is fundamental, and the research and all, doing proper research in order to advance knowledge in a veritable way is paramount. I got an opportunity to do my PhD at ETH in Zurich. By working in moving slightly my focus, working on silicon detectors. So I mean, not pure physics, but the tool to measure physics. And that was an interesting intellectual shift, because all of a sudden I wasn't simply looking to the universe in a somehow abstract way, but I had to fabricate sensors which were able to detect a physical movement and a physical passage. And so it was interesting. And I started to become a cog in a large gear, because I was kind of a liaison guy working close to the silicon manufacturer to serve the academia. And again, I wasn't an academic, I wasn't an industrial. I started to see that something else is there. And the real movement started here when I'll show you, I cut the umbilical cord because I accepted a position in a company. Even it was a particular company, because CSEM is an acronym standing for Centre Suisse d'Électronique et Microtechnique. It was a very large research center, large, 500 people, but started from the watchmaking industry in Switzerland. As soon as they understood that the Japanese were simply getting over with quartz watch. And so they said, look, maybe we need to react. And so they invested a huge amount of money in very advanced technology. And we were doing nanotechnology in the early 90s. So it was really top-notch research done in a private sector. That's another discovery I did. I always thought that the real research is academia. It's not completely true. It depends. Pharmaceutical research is not done in academia at all. So depends on the environment and depends where you're sitting and what you are doing, and then you are in the position to judge if it is good or not. And here, the message I took was, I was really becoming part of a team working together for a common goal. I need to deliver these detectors for that date, for those experiments, to do Z0 experiment. And for the first time in my life, I understand that there is something more than my own research, my own field of interest. I need to be connected with other skills and other people. And I got into contact with the big D. So for the first time, I was moving out of research, doing development for somebody else than me. And I learned about multidisciplinarity because a part of physics, I need to, the elementary particle physics, I need to understand how a silicon detector working. So I never ever thought that I would be studying semiconductor physics, and especially engineering on processing, which is a pure engineering stuff. I did, and I enjoyed. And as often happens, from the research task, I moved to a managerial position, just managing a group of colleagues of mine. And then after 3-4 years was, I believe, 2000, there was a big spin-off of this research center. The company was called Colibris, and we were actually 130 people. An incredible amount of international guys. We were almost 20 nationalities. I have a boss which was Irish. I was the head of development was a Russian. The head of marketing was a French guy, blah, blah, blah. It was very, very interesting. It was a clash of cultures, and it was interesting to learn how to react to the same thing, having a different education and a different background. I definitely did the transition to a managerial position, and I had to take decisions. And my decisions were affecting also people who were working with me, and the company as a whole. And another thing was interesting, that for the first time I took a direct proof that in the private sector, especially in some companies, not everywhere at all, but in some companies, professional education and training is mandatory. I mean, it's really a mantra, because we were talking a few minutes ago, nowadays, and even at that time, there was a kind of a detachment from the quality and the readiness of the people coming out of the university in order to be ready to do proper work in a company. It works everywhere, also in research, in the public sector. But at that time, it was no brain. You enter and you follow 2 months courses. Nothing else to do. And even, I was a manager here. I was at the C level for 120 people. It's ridiculous, but. And I had a fixed part of my salary and then a variable part of my salary. And the variable part of my salary was bound to the way I would have been able to find at least 1 week in a year to follow a professional course. Otherwise, I didn't touch my my variable part. So you can see how embedded was the concept that if I have a guy in my company which is forming himself, which is getting better himself, is serving better the value for the company. And that's a fantastic, information I got, and I try to do all my life to keep also doing in my company right now, and so. And I became aware of the economic impact and sustainability of my actions. That's, of course, is getting more close to, as soon as you need to do business, you need to understand how to deal with a multitude of factors, not just the technical delivery of what you're doing. And then all of a sudden, I got a call from a headhunter saying, look, I have a mandate with a large company in Italy looking for a guy which has more or less your profile. Are you interested? Look, I'm here in Italy. I'm here in Switzerland since 10 years. Frankly, I'm staying where I am. I'm pretty happy. Oh, it's a pity because it was in Olivetti in Ivrea. And that made a click, because for me, Olivetti was kind of a dreamy. It was something that was, in Italy, Olivetti was synonymous of high tech and incredible social attention. It was the only way and the only industry in which there was a complete compenetration of the wellness of the workers and the operability of the company. And they had a really incredible social experiment in this city north of Turin, northwest of Italy. And they had in the early 80s, 58,000 people. So it's pretty large. I joined them, and we were 3,600, so much smaller. But I enjoyed enormously because we are somehow breathing the culture they were developing in the last decades. And I got introduced to the concept of open innovation. It was completely ahead of times there. And the transfer to contamination of philosophy with physics, with engineering. It was an incredible melting pot. And here, again, it was definitely a shift to business, and so I need to widen my competence to be effective, okay? And so in the lesson learned here in Olivetti in my time was really contamination and a kind of a market focus towards innovation. And there I really understood what innovation is. Innovation is wherever you are just getting a socioeconomic effect to results of your research. As soon as you get somebody else which is saying, this is the value of what you are doing, you get a point. It's exactly what I'm doing in venture capital. I can invest in a company and I judge that this company is somehow worth 1 million. The next time the company is needing more money and is asking more money, and I follow my early provision, of course. But if somebody else is coming and say, look, I'm like to put some money and I think it's worth 3 million, that's a measure of what my perception, and I can get it, okay? So, but it's also the other way around. If they think, look, maybe I give you 1 million, but it's worth 300,000, that's sad, but it's reality. And so we need always to measure our action by means of sharing information coming from others. And that's key, because wherever technology innovation is based, is always need to start from here, from the end, the deep end, how the customer experience is looking, which is the market need of whatever you would like to develop. And so technologies and technology development need to somehow pour into the system, which is a recursive process, in order to get real innovation development out of your inputs, which are typically science-driven in our fields, okay? We are working with science, we are working with technologies, and the typical error is that we are moving from here and we try to arrive there without checking for feedback. And that's the root for, the rule for tragedy. I'm not insisting on open innovation, we are all aware of what it is, but and what I've learned is that those systems are those which we're working right now, and there isn't anymore just pharma industry which is using that. Pharma, since 25 years, is working on full open innovation in order to get rid of very long development times and incredible high cost. They simply buying companies, startups, new startups, in order to spare here. They can shop around and pull them directly to development, okay? So they are paying a lot of money on the promise that maybe they will get something back in the future with, for example, a new drug, but they are sparing all the risk, which is very high here, of a failure, because maybe they did wrong, they didn't have to choose, they have limited resources to choose many targets, and so on and so forth. So this model nowadays is spread across many different industries and markets. That was my public journey, and you see, that wasn't so linear, okay? I get back, because I got appointed to to be deputy chairman of the largest, this largest national research institute, which is, by the way, a science park. And it's the only Italian national research institute devoted to innovation. Or at least it's written, which is devoted to innovation. That's a different stuff. And I got at the same time CEO of a public-private initiative who was actually managing large research facilities to be shared between public and private on a service base. So you pay and you get in, mass spectrometry, NMR, synchrotron, and so on and so forth. I understood how important is the policy-making issue of those guys. You can steer the future if you are properly planning for whatever you are looking for. Let's say, on the high level, you need to give the policies the people and let them understand where to go in 5, 10, 20 years' time. Otherwise, people will just steer wherever the money or the opportunity is, but you need an overlook, and that's public, no else. But the counterpart is that I found a complete misunderstanding of what is market and what is customer. And there's typically is dirt. Money is dirty, and we are just living for glorious future and for the sake of science of itself, which is good, but it's not everything like this. Irrelevance of time issues, bureaucratic attitude, intertwined content and form, and competence versus a time-based career. So actually you don't get real value of the people you got here. And so I found an incredible cultural gap at the end of the day. And so those small dots here are simply the fact, stating the fact that I resigned. Otherwise, probably I would have been got fired, because it wasn't any matching between what I was thinking about offering a service to the public and what was worth to do that. Mostly because the governance was mostly academic in Italy at that time, so it's not at all a generalistic way of looking to the problem. But what I'm measuring here, and still now in many universities in Italy, that many academics do not connect with the external organization because they are not considering necessary for the research of their career, you know? And so what I'm saying here is not the intellectual superiority by status of being university researcher professor, which actually gives you the status of being an academic or a scientist, but the ability to produce a shared knowledge. Otherwise, you become and stay a pedantic, self-concerned people. That's full stop. I'm sorry, I'm no bullshit attitude, you know? And so in this sense, I cannot suffer anymore this kind of I know it all attitudes. And so I need to change. And I make a decision to go back to something which maybe was helping to bridge attitudes, because there is a gap. I need something else. And I found by chance, it was pure chance, because I was, after leaving this job, I was acting as a CEO in some startups. And all of a sudden I got nominated CEO in a startup which has a venture capital in. I got involved in what are they doing, and I mean, I was all of a sudden, this guy left and say, you take my place. Oh gosh, what I have to do? What we have? We have 6 companies at that time. DNA-based therapeutics, oh Jesus, I'm an energy particle physicist, what it is. Biopolymers, robotic surgery, autologous stem cells therapeutics, SaaS AI for supply chain management. What the hell is this? Hopefully enough, I was curious, and I learned. And that's probably the piece of information most important. If you don't understand, please don't invest. Because for sure you're losing your money and the money of who is giving to you. And I proved that the real steering and influence in such a very young company is the mentorship you can give them is of utmost importance. Because they need guidance. They don't need to have somebody making for them things. Because the temptation, many times, I assure you, easy because you know you're faster, you know how to do it, whatever. But they need to learn. Otherwise, you'll be always asked for doing that. And this is a disaster. They will not grow. Of course, market and customer first, time of essence. But this is the most important thing. Money is not a solution. It's not the end. It's a tool. I need money to do that project. It's not, I need money, full stop. And unfortunately, still now, many people thinking that as soon as you get 1 million, you're out of troubles. Trouble starts at 1 million. Then I will bother him. How it's using, when, why, you promised that, you wrote that, why are you not doing that? Blah, blah, blah. Being on the other side of barricades, you know. Of course, I will not probably go into what venture capital is, but again, what I'm saying, venture capital is risk management tool, full stop. What I'm doing, I'm trying to be operative in this area here, so really from seed, even pre-seed and development. I'm in the present fund I will show you later, we are working up to Series A, so in principle, 4 to 5 million max, but we are starting at TRL, at the very early TRL of 3, more or less, 3 to 4. So, big risk. So, and how big? 30 times more than a bank. That's Italy. 2.4% of company, whatever dimension you are asking, you are somehow looking. In 2.5% of the cases, you are not getting, the bank are not getting the money back. And 65%, that's a bit old, but it's not that different right now. It's 30 times higher. So in principle, we are losing money, okay? We know that we will lose money. Except you try to do the best out of judgment of future career, or you try to use your wisdom, because unfortunately we are getting older, and the capacity to foresee things and to have a vision as far as the use of technology you are investing into. And that was somehow one of the largest, somehow, the way how it evolved. Till now, when 5 years, 4.5 years ago, I started my company, I became an entrepreneur. And I'm a company which is advising a financial institution, a financial company, with a deep tech, we fundraised a fund, which is a deep tech fund of 40 million, devoted to pre-seed and seed, dedicated strictly on tech transfer from university and public research institutes. In Italy, we have a very, very high quality of science, but we have a very poor innovation or somehow technology driven to the market. That's very poor still. And we went in 24 universities across Italy, in which we have some contracts or some collaboration open. We looked over to almost 2,400 deals, and we made 21 investments. So the rule of 1% is still there, okay? And unfortunately, there's a lot of work. And the last bit, which was always fuzzy, but this is for now for me, is absolutely clear, is that the business is made by people. Full stop. I will judge right now, even looking to so many deals, in pandemic was somehow difficult because you can't judge very much how the people are reacting, how they are somehow the soft issue of people. Because I would definitely will be more prone to invest in an excellent guy with a so-so project than vice versa. There's no prisoners there. So clearly, that's, especially in deep tech, in so early investment, you need to understand if your guy in front of you and your team is suited to do it together a very long journey, very long journey. And that's somehow interesting, and because it comes to probably the definition of an ideal profile of modern jobs. And I learned how deep tech is coming. And deep tech sits at the convergence of technologies and approaches. And the best deals and the best opportunities are here, are at really at the interfaces between disciplines and sciences. So we can really check for large opportunities wherever things are crossing or melting, because they're not straightforward, you know? And so it's a bit difficult to understand if advanced science is closed and is being habilitated by a design stuff. But the product without design is impossible to get. So again, if you know a bit of what is nanotechnology, maybe it's useful to match with good competences in IoT, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the convergence of those things, which is, by the way, matched with what has been recently discovered, that 81% of deep tech entrepreneurs think that the venture capitals they have are not suited to catch the value of what they are doing. 81%. And it's somehow also showing that in my team, we are 4 of us, full PhDs, physics, 2 engineering, and 1 computational organic chemistry. If 30 years ago, apart from the fact that in venture capital 30 years ago wasn't a job, because simply in Europe wasn't existing. But if it would have been thought that maybe venture capital would have been nice to do, the first thing I would ever thought was maybe studying finance would have been right. Unfortunately, it's the last thing I would ever say for a guy who is approaching to venture capital. Finance is useless in venture capital. It's enormously more important to understand what technically wise those people are thinking, and trying to understand how it will be applied, and how the market would react, what market would be needing starting from this technology. And then it's just a matter of a good household. And you are giving them cash, and they are using till zero. And then you get them cash back till zero. No Modigliani Miller here, nothing. So, and that was my epiphany, frankly. Because using with this kind of approach of working on an interface and getting the value out of interface and convergences, I can easily see that my experience was fitting in getting how finance, how the public sector, and how the industry was looking maybe to the same problem. And at the same thing, how science, how management, and how finance as well, because somehow it's always within the system, may look to a product, you know? So as soon as you see that you can switch your point of view, understand the different part of the same problem, you really see the whole of it and try to catch the value, if any, that you can get. And that's probably the most important thing I can suggest to the future generation. Try to see, to be more horizontal possible in understanding the more of those different, even apparently conflicting systems or environments in order to catch opportunities. And to catch really those opportunities, you need to use well what would differentiate from apes or for crop. We use collaborative intelligence. And if you can get collaborative intelligence to become collective intelligence, which is the next step, so you somehow merge machines, algorithms, somehow crowdsourcing information, so you can get the natural evolution of our way of thinking and get innovation. 95% of our thoughts are coming from others, so are not original. So we need, already now, we are crowdsourcing information, even we believe that we thought is not true. We simply grab part of information, maybe we assembled, which may be original as well. But we are still accumulating thousands of years of social interaction and knowledge. That's clearly a way to say we need to use and to find methods to use collective intelligence at its best to get the most out of what we are doing. In order to get where? To avoid to fall in a self-referential approach and knowing the unknowns, you know? So as soon as you become aware that there is something you don't know, then you start searching. You keep searching, you keep trying to get strategies how to improve your know-how and your competences, and you go and you enlarge your competence, your knowledge, towards what is called now, this is a fascinating field of studying, superminds, which is, again, you are crisscrossing everything from design thinking, crowdsourcing, artificial intelligence, cognitive sciences, not to find solutions, but methods to find classes of solutions. It's a meta level, higher than somehow the point-like solution of your problems, but to become a strategist of what could be a reasonable method, maybe borrowing strategies from different fields, different sciences, in order to get to become more intelligent, and so to evolve faster in your system. And use somehow in a proper way whatever intelligence origins you are managing. And that will be the trend of the future. Right now, really, we are crossed by so much information. We need somehow to disentangle stuff from, so good information from bad information. Okay, maybe I will go to the conclusion, and then maybe I will spend, if you will be patient enough, a few minutes, just to show since we are an incubator, maybe how it works, my project of venture capital. So what I enjoyed the most is being curious. It was, for me, was the secret of the happiness in doing what I'm doing. I would never, ever stop learning and seeking appropriate education. This was a recommendation I did for students. Never stop asking. Pretend education. And being curious, look and watch for new topics, even whatever is not coherent with what you are studying right now, but there are some, you need to become aware. That's probably the mantra. If you are aware, you can go deeper and understand better things. Always look for the best people you can get work with. Is no brain. That's definitely the secret to have success. You need to have people better than you around you and work for them, no matter what. Those will become and steer whatever will be needed, and you will get most out of the collective intelligence. Personally, I would say never been scared in changing job. On average, I got always a beneficial step in changing, even if it was troubled, but I got benefits. And again, data and information are not knowledge until we know how to dig the value out of it, okay? Otherwise, they are simply numbers of information. But you already understood that for me, convergence and interfaces are the new black. It's really, the secret of these times is to look into borders things, where things are crossing, where things are melting. Those are the opportunities we can dig into to open business opportunities, science opportunities, social opportunities, whatever. You need to mix, you need to exchange and to move. So, sorry, I'm a physicist, so I cannot fall into temptation not citing Heisenberg. But also many, many years ago, he was already pointing out that you think really you get advancement as soon as you get at least two different lines of thought. Because it opens your mind. You see the different ways of perspectives of doing the same thing, okay? So, as I said, few slides, if you're still not sleeping, about my fund. My fund is called Vertis Venture 3 Tech Transfer. We are focusing on deep tech. So bound of Italy. Unfortunately, we got money from somehow the largest investment bank of Italy and the European Investment Fund. And we are somehow focused on tech transfer and on deep tech issues in order to get capacity building, because we strongly believe that it's not just putting money. Money is a means, is not the end. But we need to really open the value chain in order to be more effective. And yes, you know that. And that's the first consideration we made when I discussed with Nicola, which is my partner, in deciding to propose to AIF a deep tech fund. Deep tech is not what is an American-like hockey stick, whatever, digital model in venture capital. It's definitely a B2B, definitely industrial. It's hard to reproduce. We are not dealing mostly with business models, but we are leveraging technology, which is not service, but is technology-based. We are connecting existing value chain, and not we are disrupting value chains, okay? And that's very difficult, very different from, let's say, digital world and more industrial world. Pre-foundation, we need significant resources. You cannot do with spare money. You need really to have, at least to plan to invest a reasonable amount of money before whatever rentability may have. Time to market is long, and the growth model is definitely not exponential, it's linear. So why the hell are we putting our head there? Because there is a huge opportunity. And different from the others, especially the digital startups, which most of the time you need to go IPO in order to get money. Here you have all the corporate world, which will be eager to buy at a reasonable price what you are doing, because they are open innovation. They are kind of moving to open innovation to buy something which already been at least a bit developed a bit. And so clearly we are sitting in the middle between what is the typical public sector or corporate sponsor or government funding and the typical traditional venture capital. In this between proof of concept and go-to-market scenario. So that was our window of opportunity. Italy is pretty decent in what it's doing, at least in this field. But again, one thing we thought was fundamental to do proper investment in deep tech is not just in financing the deep tech, but having an ecosystem ready. And so we are using this metaphor. It's like launching a rocket, doing an investment in deep tech. You need the fuel, you need the minds, which is the shuttle, researchers with promising technology, but you need astronauts. So people are used to do that. They already did it in the past, and they know the pitfalls. Entrepreneurs and team with a market vision, and especially something they know that maybe it was working. You need a market. You need to understand that the launch will be on Mars and not falling on the moon. And so you need to steer there, understanding the need, and they need an infrastructure to test the hypothesis. So as soon as you are ready to align those 5 tiles, you may be ready to do what is meant to do. And so we worked, we placed ourselves somehow in between the incorporation stage, in which we are somehow ending up to structure the project, setting up the team, and are starting to see if any MVP are ready, and you start to develop some intellectual property, because that's probably the value you can sell to the corporations, okay? Those are the university we are working with. Those, unfortunately, is a bit old. We crossed the 100,000 kilometers traveled all across Italy, And we are also 35 terabytes of video conference in the last months. Okay, we are more or less 2 years right now after pandemic. And those, as you see, we are not digging university for the sake of digging university, but most of university have some specialities. And so it was interesting because they were skills, they had very good professors, and it was worth to go and look into those. And this was our model for POCs. So we invest in proof of concepts from TRL 5 to 3 to 5, and we got 70K, not that more than what you are doing here. But to make the hundreds we are doing, we are for one guy, we are paying an executive MBA. At least one need to be business literate. So trying to prime them to somehow expose to some topics will be important in a future career, management, again, sharing open tables, working in somehow in a formal investment, but mixed, because the classes were entrepreneurs, our entrepreneurs, and also corporate managers, in order to speak with them together, and trying to understand if they can get a match. And again, working with the largest digital capability center in the world, which is, by the way, close to Venice, which is a joint venture of McKinsey, the consulting company, and the Industrial Corporation of Northeast Italy, the Industrial, how do they say, Association, Industry Association of Northeast Italy, in which you have the model factory. What is a model factory? They have a production line, they are doing fridge compressors, but they have this modular way of organizing production in which they can test, for example, 5 Sigma, Lean, Toyota model, in order to reorganize the process to get more efficient, but also to test new technologies. And so there we can use IoT, we can use different programming just to get better logistics, let's say advanced manufacturing or preventive maintenance of machines in a somehow easy way, either to test properly technology or product, and it becomes a showcase for our prototypes for POCs, because they will sitting between an ABB robot or a Microsoft software or an Oracle DB. And so the customer of McKinsey will be seeing those things, and you'll see also not just the Oracle DB, but they will see also the sensor of Pinco Palo University. And that's something very interesting. And we close the loop with 2 other things. One is design thinking and product design, customer interfaces as whatever, or designing the customer experience, and the strategic and IP management. So those are somehow organized in a way that they are working weeks, more or less similar what you are doing in a physical accelerator or an incubator. But this is somehow spread across, not here because one is a physical place, but those, apart some frontal lessons of the executive MBA in Trieste, but the rest is spread across Italy. Okay? And this is our process. So this is somehow how we organize the things. So from research, scouting, selection, POC round, so the 100K I was showing you, we go through all the method I show you, so design-driven innovation, from technology to product, selecting target, and moreover, looking deep into the market, validation and assessment in a real or close to real environment, use cases, build up in use cases, because this is the best way to show a customer solving a real problem. And then if everything goes well, we go up and we continue investing. Otherwise, stop loss, and we simply drop the investment and we lose 100K. But we lose 100K. Out of 40 million is frankly, is a drop. And so we can afford to do it. And we made 21 investments of this kind. We lost already some, but we are still 10 which are ready. This is the model factory. This is how do you see the robotic and things are arranged. It's not that huge, but this is fantastic because you can reconfigure it in real time. And you can manage and you see. And you are experimenting a lot of things in parallel. Okay, those are the things we are doing, and more or less, I guess that's it. Okay, on overall, that's the sum up of our experience of the team and what we managed so far. Okay, and this is a glance of our deal flow. So we started September 17. The investment period will finish this September. We look to 2,400 investment, and you see the churn, how it was. So in principle, 750 just passed the hard selection from, say, they were really a spin-off, they really, blah, blah. Then only few passed, 33 passed phase 3, so in a relatively advanced due diligence. And we write off 2 of them, and we have 21 in portfolio. Span across many universities in Italy in a large space of disciplines. MedTech are the most, industrial goods, ICTs, and so on. Most of our proof of concept, of course, we are looking for, and seed. But still, we are working that. And this is the portfolio. We have invested in IoT, so somehow is in software and hardware, virtual machines for IoT, augmented reality for typically preventing maintenance and in-field maintenance, crypto, multi-factor authentication through your smartphone is interesting. You are using the smartphone camera and the variability of the response of every pixel sensor we have just to generate a cryptographic key. So it's completely unclonable. This is digital twins for powertrains and electrical powertrains, which is more than the real time, so it's somehow installed in motors. Even after their fabrication, they can predict how to optimize their operation, synthetic data to train machine learning stuff, and improves quality of broadcasting through AI. In silico drug discovery, assistive IoT for deaf people, medtech for epidural anesthesia, and 2 technology for rehab, both for post-ictus or, let's say, Parkinson level walking assistance. So you see many different technologies spanning across different disciplines, but somehow front end of what we are doing. And those are the proof of concepts, again, spanning many different things. But more or less, just to give you an overview that many things are available. I saw probably out of the 1,600 POC we were looking into the university, only half of them were somehow listed in the tech transfer offices. Half were out of the radar. So there is a lot of knowledge can be there. And so that's it. Thank you very much for your attention.